G'day Gladiators, how are you going? You alright? You good? Well, I want to introduce you and welcome you to your channel, the Gladiator channel. And right here is our new studio that I've put together. It's a work in progress. However, I'm going to call it the Gladio. Makes sense, doesn't it? Anyway, today you're going to see a video that is me and the guys that got Ed and Peyton. Peyton's on the camera most of the time, but we are doing a video on showing you how to install a quad gutter. So a quad gutter is basically just a typical type of gutter that you find on almost every single house in Queensland. There's many different varieties of it, but however, this one here is just your typical 150 high front quad with overflow slots in it. Now the install here, what's special about this install is that it is being installed on a timber fascia. You'll see that it's got fibro cement, and behind that fibro cement is a solid timber frame, and that's what we're fixing into. So there is different types of installations where you've got spring clips and you've got spike brackets and things like that. But today in this video I'm showing you using a GP bracket. Now a GP bracket can fit on all types of all backing. So GP stands for general purpose, and so I won't bore you too long. Thank you for the channel. Hit subscribe, like, and if you want to share this with a friend, I'd love you to do so. But learn something, here we go. So one of the first things that you need to make sure is that you've gotten all of your materials delivered to site, or you've picked them up and you've gone down to your local hardware store, or you've had everything delivered from the one supplier. Now you certainly can do that, have everything delivered from the supplier. So where you're ordering your guttering from, you should be able to order your rivets, your silicone, your screw fixings for your brackets, your stop ends, your dropper, your downpipes. So these are all the things that you need to be able to put your guttering on. And you should be able to get it from one place. However, it's up to you where you get it from. So, but that's what you need to do. You need to make sure. Now, one little tip is get yourself some touch-up paint. A can of touch-up paint that matches the ColourBond colour will go a long way, and you'll see why in this video. So here we have, this is a dropper. So it's a 100mm metal dropper that goes into the bottom of the guttering, just like that. So we've got two of those because we've got two gutters. And then this here, this is a GP bracket. This goes onto the timber fascia. There's the back of that there, and the front. Where's a better angle? There you go. And that there, so that screws onto the fascia, that goes through, and the front loop goes up under the gutter. There we go. That loops into there. That goes in behind the gutter like that and holds that on. So that's the gutter bracket. So you want to make sure your gutter brackets are there. And then you have your stop ends. Now the stop ends go at the end of the gutter, just like that. Now we've got 4 stop ends. Yes, they're all here. Beautiful. The other thing that we need to make sure we've got are all the screws and fixings and rivets and paint and all the rest. So here we have in here a box from our fastening supplier. Oh, another unboxing here. In here we have some screws for the gutter. We have some black silicone because we've got black gutters. We use the black silicone. And we have a box of Night Sky number 20. Now we've got way too many rivets, but we get them and have them available for stock. And also we have our Night Sky touch-up paint that we're going to show you why we're going to use that later. Now what have we got in here? Here we go. These here, we're also doing some flashings on this job as well, and that's what these here are for. These are our 50mm roofing screws in Night Sky. So one of the things that we use this touch-up for is on the gutter brackets. So as you can see there, the gutter brackets are made out of a gal, right? It's galvanized steel, zinc aluminum. I'm not 100% which one, but I'm pretty sure it's gal if you look at the little speckle in it. So when we put these up on the gutter, up the top there, if you can see it's going to be a black gutter, and these are going to look really ordinary if they're not painted. So what we do is we get our touch-up paint and we just spray this bottom section right here. And just that little part on the back, just so that you don't see the shiny part on the back. Just give it a light coat. Leave that to dry for 5 minutes or so, and it's good to go. Sometimes you might give it 2 coats, but we're going to go through the process this now and spray up the rest of them. So what we're going to spray now is the dropper. So while we've got the spray can out and we're going through this process, what we want to do is just spray this area around here. And the reason for that is when we're putting it through the downpipe, the gutter, that when you put the downpipe up against it, if there is a little bit of a gap, you can't see shininess. So this is why we're going to spray that. So just put your hand through the other side of it, Ed. That's it. Spread it over, and there we go. Give your hand, watch this. There you go. That's looking pretty good. We want to make sure our bracket spacings are correct. So we're going to be putting a bracket there, 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 and there. So this run here is just over 3 meters, and our maximum bracket spacings are 1200. So what we're looking at is going one meter off, another meter, and then another meter, which is a perfect spacing for all of these. The other thing to take into account is we're going to be putting the downpipe straight down this side here, so we don't want to put the bracket in the way of where the downpipe's coming down. Ed's going to start the first bracket 200 millimeters in to ensure that it doesn't foul with the downpipe. So in marking this out, we're going to use that there as our guideline. So we're going to sit this hard up against the sheet and then come down 5 millimeters, so we're not completely hard against the roof. And then we're going to mark on the fascia that line there. Then we're going to take it down to the low point, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have it down 15 mil from the roof sheet, so it's giving it 10 mil fall over 3 meters, and we're going to mark on that same mark, and we're going to put a chalk line on. So here's the other roof that we're putting the gutter on. So we've got the chalk line on there. I don't know, you can see it's so glary. You see we've given ourselves a chalk line, which is a level along there. What I'm going to go through now is I've got my measurement at the far end on one end and measurement on the other end, and what we're going to do is evenly space the brackets between. Now generally you want them between 900 and 1200 millimeters apart, so that's what we're going to aim to achieve. Sometimes you're better off to go shorter than longer, because 1200 is the manufacturer's. On this particular gutter, we're putting quad gutter on this particular gutter, 1200 wide is your maximum spacing. So what we want to do is get this first one fixed on. Now we're using a screw, Phillips head screw here. You could go a smaller one, but this one here is a nice solid screw.
Deals now, Ed.
Go the howling dog.
Like a glove.
Nah. Yeah, sorry. So we've got this one here on. I don't know if you can see into the shade. Our starter one at each end. Then we've got our chalk line running through. So now what we need to do, because we need to go through and we will set our spacings out. So let's measure from either end. So if you go down to this end and butt it Go to the dead center, please, Peyton, of that bracket. I've basically got 5/7. How many brackets we got there?
5.
Divided by 5, it's 1140. So we're putting them at 1140 spacings. So let's starting at that end there. So 1140, we're looking at center there, mark that. Now the truth is in the tails. I'm going to put that one on there, and this should be 1140. It's 1120. So now where you've got that line, what you want to do is grab each one of these. Where's that first mark? Here?
Yep.
And you sit this here and get that. Yeah, I'll get you on this now, Peyton. Alright, it's still going. We've got 3%. Let's get this first one on. So we line that central line up there, and I'm just going to make a slightly bigger line so we can see it. Alright, and that's going to sit on the blue chalk line. So that edge there sits on the blue chalk line, and we have the pencil mark. You can see it in between there, and that's how we line that up.
Well, that's not a good start.
Nah, where's my drill? It's down there. So we still got battery.
Yep.
So we've got the blue line, we've got that centralized up, and there we go. You want to get that fairly level, and get that in. Now if you look from underneath here, you can see why it's so advantageous to have painted that black, right? Now I'm going to go through and get the rest of these on. Lining up that chalk line once again. And again, I'll put that last screw in when we cut that piece. Now you want to hang on to this, but when you're putting that in, you want to hang on to it because it can spin, and when it spins, you can cut yourself.
Yeah,
You don't want, yeah. Alright, so now we have our brackets on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 brackets, perfectly spaced, or very, very closely spaced between. Yeah, 1120 between that one. 1140 between this one. Peyton, we want to put the stop end on the other end.
Yep.
And then when we put the stop end on, then we're going to measure the 6035 from the end of that stop end, and then put the other stop end on.
Yep.
So as what Ed's doing now, he's putting the stop end on here. He'll fix that on, and then he'll measure his length. And as you can see, he's got the line there, and he's got his dropper position ready to get cut out, and then he'll cut that off when he confirms his length and puts his stop end on this end. With this here, that sits on over the top, that does not go on the inside, it always goes over the top. We're going to get a rivet into the back corner there, into that position right there. Another one around the front of this, and one in the back. Just make sure you keep your fingers clear. Was it the New South Wales captain?
Yeah, Mitchell Pearce.
Legend. Okay.
I think it was. How you going, Ed?
exactly the name of why it's called quad gutter, but here in Queensland, quad gutters are very common, like the old Queenslanders. So if you have a look up, I don't know, into the sun, but if you look down there, there's an old cottage house and they've got a quad-shaped gutter on spikes. So essentially it's an evolution from that. Now if you have a look at the house next door, that's a square line top of a gutter, which is another top of a gutter. Same concepts, you have stop ends, you've got overflows in the front. So basically they all do the same thing. Alright, so now we've got this, that's his. This is ours.
There's one more.
I thought I had one more rivet to go. I'm like, oh, that's all finished, that one. Now the reason I go bit is so that I don't just go full ball slip and just drill a hole in my finger. I see this. This will go at the other end, so this one here, so this is our front, so we're going to spin this, so now we're going to install our stop end, our down dropper, right here. Because we're going this 100mm dropper inside this quad gutter, if you come over here, it's a little bit bigger than the bottom of this, so you want to try and keep it back from the roll. So what I'm going to do is actually cut, I feel like we're in Twilight or something. I'm going to cut a square line off the back here. Oh, poor
Taylor Lautner's here.
Taylor Lautner. So I'm going to cut that there off, and what that'll enable us to do is get this nice and tight back toward the back of the gutter. So we've got that flat back line that's going to sit on the back of there, and we're going to then go through here and mark the inside of that dropper. Once we've marked the inside of that dropper, I'm going to go through, just cut it a little bit wider, so I'm going to draw another little dummy line, a tiny bit bigger. And this is so that when we drop the dropper in, it's got a nice clean drop. We're not scratching it up everywhere. And it's not fouling on the gutter in any way. So we're going to go through and cut that there. I'll put a big X on that so we know that that's where it's getting cut out. We're going to go through and drill a hole in here, and then we're going to cut that out. So then what we're going to do is going to go through to that first line that we did and cut inside that first line. And it can be a big rough cut, that doesn't matter. So that's our first cut, and then we're going to go through again neatly with our second cut. Microphone, I haven't done this sort of work with the microphone, with that in the back. So then we take this here, and that's going to sit in there really nicely, so that sits perfectly this side, so we can be confident to say that this is going to sit in there really nicely on that side, right? So we've got 4, so
You're going to put it on these?
yeah. So what I'll do, while I'm pre-drilling the other ones, put one in there so it will hold it in place. Put in the
That little squash, divot, drop. I will finish the job.
So back out again. So what we want to do now is make sure we get all the swarf out before putting any silicone in. Then you might notice that there's got little bits of swarf on here. We just want to wipe that off by hand if we can. Now, the beauty of using the black silicone or colour match silicone is that if you get overrun, then you wipe it off and it actually matches everything you're working with already. And also having this cut on here, that lines everything up nicely as well. There we
Why is it so important to put it underneath the bottom?
The rivets? Well, if you put it through the other way, you're going to have the bottom of the rivet sitting out like that.
Yeah.
So by putting it through the bottom, it gives you a nice flush finish on the bottom, opposed to having, I'll show you. Can you see under, no, go through underneath. You see if I stick this through the bottom there, you'd be left with this big bit of rivet sitting down there rather than the other way around.
Yep.
All right. Can use it now. So as you can look in there, you can see that all that silicone is completely sealed off to there, and that water will run down into there and go in. There you go. What we have to do is, once we get the fall right on this roof here and we've marked out our gutter spacings and we've gone through and put our gutter brackets on in place, we're then going to mark these timbers. We're going to cut these timbers off, pull them off so that we can fit the gutter flush back to here. You like my new drill holder?
It works.
Yeah. Alright, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to hook it in place on here, just hook it over, get it into the right spot. Once it's in the right spot, then we're going to bring it in and put it on.
That one in the middle.
Alright, that should be able to stay by itself now. Cool? Are they all hooked on? So you just go through, that one's hooked on, that one's inside it, that one's inside it. Very good. So I'm going to line this other end up with just using my hand, is where I want it to sit at the other end. Perhaps. And that is perfectly sitting at that end. And I'll go through now and just lift this into place. There we go, and it sits now nice and tight into place. And as you check on that end, it should be fairly flush.
It is flush.
Really good. Alright, so now this is where you get your chisel out and your hammer. And on the brackets is a little restraining clip that I don't know if you can see. Get that in on there, and you close it in, and that holds the gutter in place. This end here, because it sits out on this end, it's not going to sit 100% perfectly, but we try here to get this back as hard as we can, and this will hold it back as tight as we can. There we go, that will hold that in nice and tight. Alright, so we've just got one more to do at the other end, but what we'll do first, Peyton, is what we've got to do now. So you've got your retaining clip that's been pressed down back on, and now we have, if you have a look underneath here, there's a little hole. Where is it? There. You can see there's a little hole in the bottom of the clip. So it's at this point here that what we want to do now, you don't need to do this on every single one, Generally, as a rule, we do every second clip. So I'm going to get this back in as tight as we can. Sometimes you need to bring the clip out to make it fit. Like that. We pull that in and then we go through and we drill a hole and put a rivet in it.
You know what's good about this? You said we get to watch the video and learn from it. I don't have to watch the video. Yeah, you got it. It's just good on that angle.
Yeah. So I apologise because I forgot to get footage of the gutter being finished. Now this isn't a video about a finished beautiful looking gutter, this is about how to install a gutter, so that is probably why I didn't put a lot of emphasis on it. Anyway, I hope you guys learned something, and hang on, what have I got coming now? Is it a blooper? G'day Gladiators, I'm Kenny and today we're going to show you how to install guttering. Open it up. Gee, I tell ya, getting a good studio in the